Okay? So who doesn't know who I am? So innocent. As you missed it before, I am the high exalted one of all things music related. So for the record, I am Ernie Jackson. I am your favorite MP professor that bothers you the most, okay? I feel it's very important to always talk about music careers because they're always changing. Now, this is what happened recently. Recently, I was sitting in a classroom and a former student came by just to say hi, whatever, and I said, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm going to career services. Now, he graduated like a couple of years ago. I think you were here when that happened, right? He graduated a couple of years ago. And I said, career services? He's like, yeah, you know, I tried to do the studio thing. It didn't work out too good. So now I'm really trying to just find some work. I find that disturbing, okay? I find it disturbing because this student was a great student, a very talented vocalist, and a good music production student. But the fact he made a mistake in trying to run a studio in his house. You can't just run a studio because you got equipment. You can't do it. I have equipment, I don't run a studio. I work in my studio for the work that I try to do. But because we're this program of music production and music, because I did say it was for music people too, a lot of people don't realize the opportunities that are out there for you to be in the music industry. Now, I'm not talking about being in the music industry you like to cook. So you're going to be craft services on a set, or you're going to, you know, provide food for people's studio sessions. I'm really talking about careers in the music industry where you make money and you're in the industry and you're working at a good capacity, okay? So that's what we're going to go with today. Now, primarily I have my music production majors in here. So your point of coming to this school is because, number one, you could have gone to other schools, but you found out this school had this program. Let's just say that's the truth, right? So we all know that this program is the best value in New York City. It's like $6 grand without financial aid. You graduate in 2 years with a degree, and now you know stuff. But how much stuff do you really, really know? What, in fact, can you actually do with this degree and this knowledge? Let us be very serious about what's going on here. When you graduate college, 2-year, 4-year, graduate, doctorate, remember something when you graduate. The world owes you nothing. The world owes you nothing. Don't be a hype man. It drives me crazy, okay? So remember that. You'll come out with all your degrees and be like, okay, look. You go to an employer, look, I did everything I'm supposed to do. So what? So did he, so did she, so did he, so did she. Who are you? What else can you do? Why are you special? You'll get that from any job. So remember, when you graduate, get over yourself immediately. Just get over yourself. That was a mistake that I made when I graduated from college. I was like, check me out. Yeah, so what? What's so special about you? You're tall. No, but look, I graduated from college, a good college. Yeah, so what? That's how it's going to be. I hate to tell you this. And that's not to discourage you, but that's how it's going to be. So what do you need to do? You need to know what you're talking about. Now, for my music production majors, I have my little Pro Tools here up on the screen. Okay? How many of my music production majors are well-versed in Pro Tools? Super killer well-versed. I'm asking you. You can be honest, you can lie. How many are you super well-versed in Pro Tools? You are. That's not an answer. Do your answer one more time. Do it for the camera, please. Come forth. Come forth. See, that's good stuff. And I'm going to ask the question again, and I want you to do exactly what you just did. How many people are well-versed in Pro Tools? Do exactly what you did. That's not what you... Okay, sit down. That means you don't know what you're talking about.
More or less.
Okay? You have to be ready to be that person. Well, what is that person? Why would knowing Pro Tools be good? What reasons do you think knowing Pro Tools would be good? Anybody? Anybody? Other than you? Yes?
So you'd be able to know the programming aspect of engineering and also...
You don't need Pro Tools for that.
Right, good point. So,
Why is it important? Give me reasons that it's important to know Pro Tools. You're out of college now. You had a party. Is Pro Tools important? Could be, depends on what party it is. Who had their hand up? Ignacio.
I was just going to say because it's the industry standard.
Okay, it's industry standard. Why does that help you if you know it?
We're on the same plane as everyone else to a certain extent.
I hear what you're saying, but that's not a reason to know Pro Tools well. What about it? Who else? Who had their hand up? Somebody else had their hand up. Nobody? How do you even know how Pro Tools exists other than school? Okay? So what we're talking about is a career that nobody talks about. It's being a product specialist. What does a product specialist do? Don't tell me they make products special. I'll kick you out. They make products really special to look at. What does a product specialist do? Mr. Peters. What kind of people?
People that don't know how to use it.
That could be your friend Steve in his house. Go check it out. Is he a product specialist? What does a product specialist do? Okay? Okay, Ignacio, you got an idea?
Say they work for the company and they showcase whatever product that they're trying to sell.
Exactly. So the product specialist is the person who demos the product. Period. You know everything you need to know about this product. Everything. You are hired by the company to go places and demonstrate this product for people who are interested in knowing. Anybody you demonstrate the product for is a captive audience. They're not people who are just passing by for the most part. Who are these people you're demonstrating products for? I'm going to tell you, okay? Sometimes, oh, look at that. Throw that at Joanna. This probably won't work either. Let's see. Okay. Sometimes, believe it or not, there are school districts. School districts. What do I mean by that? Do you know that music production, music technology is absolutely necessary in public schools and other schools like that now? It's been that way for the past 10, 12 years, which is how I got my start. So when I started working for Sibelius, they sent me to schools. They sent me to schools in New Jersey, to school districts, okay, to demonstrate the product. And then the school district would decide, because that's what they do, they make decisions, the school district would decide if they wanted to buy that. And then what I just done without me realizing it was that I actually just sold 400 copies of Sibelius to a school district. So I just made that company a whole bunch of money because of my demonstration skills. I can tell you, because we're talking about the industry, for me, that was a $300 day of me just going somewhere, demonstrating the product, and getting paid later. $300. Today, my fee's like, I don't know, $500, $600, okay? But that was 10 years ago. Because I'm able to talk to a school of teachers, I'm talking teachers, about how to use Sibelius. These teachers are obviously what kind of teachers? What do they teach? Music. They teach music. Not music production, but music. That means in their classroom, they're using Sibelius to teach elementary, middle school, high school, because that's what's going on right now. That was not the case 15 years ago. It was the case 10 years ago. Things are beginning to change. Parents are saying, I want my child to be technologically advanced, so we're going to fundraise, get this, and so we can have all these things at our school, right? So when a school gets something like a smart board, that's in a budget. And schools love smart boards. They just think it's the greatest thing ever, okay? You guys have smart boards in your schools, all right? Smart boards are wonderful. Why is smart boards wonderful? Because you can just go up and touch and do stuff, things move. Well, that's amazing for a child to do if they're doing music, so they can lift a note. These are important things. You're doing something. So when I'm selling to one school district, so the company said, hey, that was great. Whatever you did was awesome. Can we send you out for more? And so now I found myself going everywhere in New Jersey, Connecticut, Virginia even, Pennsylvania, just doing Sibelius demonstrations for school districts. Just that. And they're selling, and they're selling. Okay. So who else will I be doing this stuff for? Who else? Huh? I didn't hear you.
Companies, organizations,
What kind of companies?
music maintaining companies.
No, that's the company who's putting me out there. Sibelius is putting me out there. Let's say, what do you got?
Product at conventions.
At conventions, right? So conventions are, that's that foot traffic we're talking about. That's when people walk by. So they walk by, so here I am, I'm Ernie Jackson, I'm at my booth with my computer. You know, I'm like, hi, how can I help you? So, oh yeah, I heard a lot about this program. Can you show it to me? And then comes your skill set. Because no matter who you're talking to, you don't know what their skill set level is. And then when they start throwing really difficult questions at you, you have to be adept in knowing what to do. So I will give you an example. I don't have Sibelius on the screen, but I'll just show you as an example. I could do it on the board, but it's all right. So I'll get somebody. I need to make a scenario happen. Just give me a second. Come here. You can't hear this. Come over here. It's a secret. So you got to come up. You have to ask me, can you do feathered beaming? Okay. So here I am at my convention booth. Here I am. Hi everybody. Whatever. I'm talking about Sibelius. I'm talking about Sibelius and blah, 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 blah. And I say, does anybody have any questions? And here comes this guy.
Do you know about feathered beaming?
Yes. What can I tell you about it?
How do you do it?
Okay, so he's asking me, can the program do feathered beaming? What's feathered beaming? Anybody? Thank you, John. What's feathered beaming?
Those little tiny notes like above a note.
Nope. What's feathered beaming? Anybody? Feathered beaming, let's say, here are your note heads. And feathered beaming is this kind of thing. It looks like that. But it has like this look to it. It's a composer's thing. Can the program do it? And the answer is yes. Then he says, show me. And then I go in and I show him how to do it. How it's done, rather. Right? You got to be prepared for every type of question because you're going to get anything from a novice to an absolute professional music engraver, composer person. And that's why they send you out, because when people try to hit you with stuff, you always have the answer. You have to know the program inside and out. I get it all the time. You guys think I'm annoying to you. You should see me out in the convention. Oh my gosh, because when they see me, they're like, okay, yeah, I remember you from before, because they ask stupid questions sometimes. And they're hoping there's somebody new they can ask the same question to and get the same answer I gave them 2 years before. But it's the kind of thing you got to be prepared for. Excuse me. So at conventions, that's foot traffic. That's everybody asking you every type of question for anything. The music can't be genre specific. It can't be, you have to be completely objective. And you have to know these things, okay? When it comes to Pro Tools, somebody will say, well, when are you guys going to do offline bouncing? What's offline bouncing? Offline bouncing, what does that mean? It's something you can't do. It's something you can't do in Pro Tools 10, but you can do it in Pro Tools 11. So if you know Pro Tools, you know that when you want to bounce to disc, it takes the whole time of the song. But if you did a whole session and your session's 2 hours, okay, you're going to go outside, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to go watch a movie until that whole thing bounces. Offline bouncing means that you can actually now bounce. The computer takes care of it, and it does it quick, okay? So that's what's new in Pro Tools 11. But other software has been doing that for years, and Pro Tools finally did it in Pro Tools 11, okay? And what the guys at Avid will say, they have a very funny line. They always say, We're always late to the party, but we bring the best beer. Meaning, okay, by the time they get to doing all these features everybody else has, when they get to it, they get it in, but theirs is the best way to do it. That's what they're really saying. You got to know your programs inside out, okay? Where else are we going with my product specialist behavior? Where else would I be going? Anyone? Stores. Why is that funny, Joanna? He keeps what? He keeps hitting you? Oh, answer, okay. I'm asking everybody. So stores, so there you go. You stand in the middle of Guitar Center, watching people, whatever they do at Guitar Center, people who go through, who have no money, don't buy anything, they just go through. But there you are set up, here's my table, hi, you know, I'm from so-and-so. You get paid for that day. That's like going to a mini convention. And they advertise that you're coming. Okay, come see Avid today. Come see Sibelius today. Come see Cubase today. Come see Ableton today. And you're that person. And now you're getting hit with local people asking you these questions. Hey, you know, I have this, you know, I've got this inbox, you know, 3, you know, is it still good? Can it still work with HD? You know, you're gonna get all these questions. You gotta know the answers to this, okay? This is a real job, and the same thing, you get paid for that day. Hey, Sush, you're gonna drive me crazy. You know this, right? Okay. So stores. And sometimes, but like if you go to the small stores, you're just kind of showing the manager of the store. When you go to the bigger stores, you're actually there for the day, primarily around the holidays. Because I've done it around the holidays, and I'm just standing there, people coming up to me and stuff, and you're helping make sales happen. That's all you're really doing is boosting sales. A lot of times, like I used to go to these things before I was demonstrating, a lot of times they hold an event, and you show up at the event, and people are coming, a Q&A session, and you know, you talk. Okay, where else am I going with my special knowledge and skill set? Where else am I going? Anybody? Going to studios. Going to studios for clients. Sometimes these people will call the company. The company will often give away product. It's what we call an NFR. What's an NFR mean? This is an awesome seminar. Nobody knows anything. Look how awesome I am. I got to sit down because my foot hurts. What is an NFR? Not for resale. They give you the software. You can't be like, yo, I just got Reason 8 for free. You want to buy it? You're a clown. Okay? It's not for resale. They gave you the software. They gave you the software because they want you to tell people you're using that software. You're a big heavy hitter producer. Yes, sir.
So with that being said, right? So what if somebody got a not for resale Reason or whatever program and they try to sell it and they find out? Can they get you over that? Or?
They're just a clown.
Okay.
I don't know if they get in trouble for it. I mean, if it's not open and that's just lame to me. I don't know. You know, you sell a gift. I don't know. You know, oh, you know, here, I want you to have this awesome watch, Ernie. Thanks. So you want to buy it? It's like $50. It's kind of whack to me. Because everybody complains about buying software in the first place. Oh, it's so expensive. I got no money. All these things cost too much money. That's why I steal it, which you should not be doing. But if you're good and whatever, the company gives you the NFR software. If you're a product specialist, you get it for free. But if you wind up going to a heavy hitter and they say, look, can you have somebody come over to my studio and give me some lessons on it? The company pays you to go over to their studio. If you're really dope and you're really good at it, the client will pay you privately much more money. Always happens. Always, always happens. I had to go up to Woodstock one day to teach this very famous guitar player, Todd Rundgren, how to use a MIDI guitar, something that triggers keyboards. I'm not a Todd Rundgren aficionado, but I do know he's insanely famous, one of the greatest guitar player producers ever. So I went, and that was probably him and his guitar player probably gave me the greatest compliment as a guitarist I ever had. So if you know anything about triggering MIDI guitar, you know you're triggering the samples in the keyboard with your guitar. So Sarah, let me just give you guys a quick demo of how how it tracks. So in other words, tracking means that when you play, it picks up everything. And so when I played, after I finished playing, I played unnecessarily fast just to show how really well it tracked. They looked at each other and laughed at me. It was awesome. They looked at each other and they laughed. And I said, okay, what did I do that was funny? They said, no, it's not you, but could you play like if you had a few beers in you? Because we don't play that perfect. Okay, thank you for the compliment, but I don't drink, so I don't really know how that works. That was my response. Okay? But I had the great Todd Rundgren basically tell me that I'm a really good guitar player, which was, huge for me because I don't really listen to his music, but I get it. But there I am in this legendary studio with this legendary guy in his house demonstrating a guitar product, which is insane to me to this day, okay? But then you wind up in people's studios. I wound up in the studio of Danny Korchmar. Danny Korchmar was one of those legendary guitar players and producers who produced one of Don Henley's great records, Don Henley from the Eagles. So there I am in his apartment, and he has a problem with Ableton. So Ableton say, hey, look, can you go to Danny Korchmar's house and help him with Ableton? Oh, yes, I can. Sure, I'll be right there. Sometimes you do these things as a favor for the company because you just want to meet these people, or you want to be in there. Hey, do I owe you anything? Nah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for letting me come over and help you. Simple as that. Being a product specialist is one of the best jobs you can do outside of this place. It's not an age-specific job. In fact, I'm going to be quite honest, they like young people knowing stuff. As long as you're not trying to push your stupid music on them. I'm going to make that very clear. Do not go there, Eddie, and say, yeah, can I play you a couple of my songs? I'm not saying you, I just have to say your name. You're going there as a product specialist. You're going there to show the product. They're going to call the company back because they called the company first. Okay? This is a very, very important job. Where else am I going? So with studios and clients. Anybody got any other places? Any other ideas where I would take my product specialty gift to places? Anybody? Well, so we'll leave the list there. Okay, we'll leave the list there. Has anybody other than Ignacio heard of this kind of a job before? Anybody? Okay, if you're going to do this job, how are you going to do it?
First, have to learn the program,
Okay,
the product,
okay. What else do you got to know how to do?
persuade people, not persuade.
Don't persuade them, just beat them up. Buy my stuff. Ignacio.
When these product specialists come out and they showcase whatever they're trying to sell, and it's new product, how are they learning it?
The company, sometimes you can apply for the job. Sometimes they advertise for product specialists at jobs, at companies. Native Instruments always does. The only reason you know me is because I turned down that job. Okay? There's a woman, her name is Stony Music, and she does all the Native Instruments machine, Complete 10. She does all the demonstrations for them. She is constantly on the road. She's a mother, and she's constantly on the road doing demos for Native Instruments. And the reason that is because when they asked me, I was already teaching here, and I said, there's no way I'm going to leave this. But I'm not that product type of person. I mean, I know how to use machine, it's just a thing, but she kills it. She uses that, and she's a lovely woman. And of course, when she goes to the studios, there's nothing but men there, so they like that. But she basically owns that market. There is nobody else needs to do that product demonstration but her. She's been doing this like 2 to 3 years now. She is the only person who does it. There is nobody else in the US doing machine product demonstrations for them, just her. And she's in all of these things. She may not be in a school district, but she's in everything else, constantly. So I don't think she has a day rate. I think she's actually a salaried employee now. And she's been with everybody. She's been with Personas. She's done stuff for Avid. She's done stuff for Propeller Heads. But her current permanent gig is being the product specialist for Native Instruments. on machine, and primarily machine. There's somebody else who does the DJ thing, and there's sometimes somebody else who does complete.
Is there like beef between like companies? Like if you work with like one company and you try to go to another one, or they like look at you funny or something?
So the question was, so if you go from one company to the other, is there some kind of issue? You always have to sign an NDA. What's that? Non-disclosure agreement, that you cannot tell anybody what's happening. You asked before, how do you learn the product? Usually when you're working with a company, something's coming out, you have to sign something. You can't talk about it, okay? When Machine 2.0 came out last year, I knew all about it, but I couldn't say nothing. I wasn't gonna say nothing. Then my students like, yo, why didn't you tell me, Jackson? You knew about it. I can't. We just can't do it. It actually feels good to have that knowledge first and not say nothing. Is something coming out? I don't know. You know. That's fun. For me, it's fun. I don't know. I'm easily amused, right? So, it's a great job. It's one of these things that you guys don't know about, that you don't think about. So I was saying, so what else? What other things do you need to know to do this job properly? Anybody? I'm going to tell you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Speak out properly.
You got to talk good. We got to talk good. See where I talk? I'm bringing out my Staten Island, which I really don't have, because I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Williamsburg before it was cool. Okay, so you have to be clear and you have to understand how to demonstrate the product properly. You cannot talk hood. You cannot talk young. You have to specifically talk about the product and be detailed. You never know who you're going to be talking to. You never know who's going to show up at your booth or be in your audience. You never know who's going to raise their hand, and you have to have some kind of sense of composure that if your favorite artist is in the audience and they raise their hand, you can't be like, oh, well, hi, Niall, how you doing? I'm a big fan. Like, you can't just all of a sudden, people, it's a very real thing. You can't do it. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the product specialist primarily first and foremost is because this is where a lot of you could be right now. Learning the ins and outs. Other than me being right here at this particular moment, you're in a program that for the most part, if you had the wherewithal, you can do your entire record for free based off of your tuition. So you should be in the lab all the time of your free time, just digging in and learning new things about your software that we're teaching you here. Whether it's Pro Tools, whether it's the Complete Suite, whether it's Sibelius and things like that. You should be in there, and I'm gonna say honestly, I tell people all the time, never more than an hour a week. Digging in, no projects, just, okay, let me just see how this works. An hour a week. Sometimes people spend hours down there trying to do stuff, like trying to learn stuff. That's not the way you learn things. You go in there, you take an hour to just fool around, break stuff, lose sessions, lose files. You take an hour a week and you do that.
Hour a week?
An hour a week.
Only 1 hour a week?
Just to fool around.
Oh, just fool around.
Okay? How many times in class, right? Oh, what happened to my session? I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. But if you spend an hour in a week, that'll never happen to you. Because you'll know what not to do. What happens, unfortunately, is that people spend too much time working on their projects, and that's it. But nobody actually goes downstairs and just, let me just see what this does. Let me just see. That's what you're supposed to do, okay? I don't practice guitar anymore. I really just don't. I should, but I don't. But I know that when I was practicing, I would spend maybe 15, 20 minutes a week just seeing what my hands were doing. Not playing songs, just kind of trying to figure out how I can get some sounds, messing with my touch. And I'll get into the guitar thing later, okay? So once you get that, you're set to go. And again, the main reason I bring this up is because a month ago, I was contacted by this company up in Canada called Music Marketing, and they hold a software convention that just happened 3 weeks ago. And so in the past few years, they've always asked and requested QCC student volunteers. Because every time I brought a student there, they've loved the student. They always ask for QCC student volunteers. They just ask for them before anybody else. And then once they get the QCC number that they got, then they go to other places and they ask why, because they like the program here, they've been here, and all the students that have gone there have been very good to help them out. But this year was different. This year they asked me, could I demonstrate a software product that I had no clue about, and are there any students you know who could do this also, because we have a product that we don't have anybody to help us demonstrate. So I said, all right, let me think about this. But the first person I asked was Professor Anderson, because the other product that they wanted was for his type of ears. You all know how I feel about his ears, okay? He has like, he can just hear everything. He knows the frequency of all things, okay? So if this cable was vibrating, he could tell me what frequency it was. He's just weird that way. And to me, he's like that, and he's probably not like that. But he couldn't do it, because it was more of an EQ-based engineer demonstrator that they need. He couldn't do it that day. So I said, well, let me see who else I think I know who could do it. So the first person I thought about was a former student, and he's a little older, was Ty McPhee. Some of you know him, okay? You may or may not know him. So I asked him if would he consider it? He goes, oh yeah, sure. So what did they make him do that they didn't make me do? Because they knew that I could demonstrate the product. So I said, I have a student for you. His name is this. Here's all the information. I gave Ty the information, I gave the company information. And so they copied me on the email, and they clearly said, okay, let's set up a time where we can do an online demonstration of the product, which means a web interview, basically. And when I talked to the guy at Music Marketing, he said he was excellent. He said Ty was excellent. He had the software for 3 days. He had the software for 3 days, and he said he was excellent. Just like that. So of course I've got a little bit of auto hate, right? I got a little bit of auto hate going. I'm like, because I'm in the middle of how I feel about this. I'm like, oh really, that quick? Oh, okay. He gets to keep the software. And when you get software from companies, what you could do, as you can see, I have my iLock here. What they do is you download the demo. The demo's full functioning, and then they deposit the license on your iLock account. And that's how you get to use the software. So once you have an iLock account, they just say, okay, what's your iLock account name or whatever, and then you just see the license, it just shows up because they do it on the internet. So now the software is functioning, yes.
What is iLock?
It's this device that lets you use the program. It's a licensing thing. So now we have, so now me and Ty are doing this convention for software. So I got my software, same way to deposit it. Okay, I'm learning and I'm doing my thing. But they never questioned me because they just assumed that I would just know how to use it, which is fine, and that was true. We get to the convention, and so it turns out that my room is next to Ty's room. They put us together. His room is significantly nicer than mine. His room has an extra chair. It's got better lighting. He had more people in that room watching him demonstrate that software, and all I got was runoff. People are like, oh, what's going on here? That's what I got. It made me very proud. I have to tell you, as much auto hate as I had going, I mean, I was killing him the whole day. I would go into his room and I would just be like, what are you doing? But he literally held court. He had the software for 3 days. He took one of his pieces of music and decided to demonstrate it with one of his songs. It was amazing. That was a $200 day for him. Okay, $200 day and free dinner. We had a good dinner. And his dinner was better than mine. I can't believe. We went to a Chinese restaurant, like a nice one, and I thought what I ordered was good. And it came out, and I was like, that's a little boring looking. And then his came out, I was like, oh, come on, what kind of day is this? And then the next thing I know, like 2 days later, I see an email, I was copied on an email, and they said, we would like you to do our demonstrations for this product at Guitar Center. So now, he's listed under the company as Ty McPhee, product specialist for music marketing. That happened within a week.
Wow. I'm sorry.
It's okay, you can be happy. That happened within a week. That was a $200 day. anybody came through that room, there are probably future producers that we don't know about, producers that we just don't know who they are, came through that room. I mean, I had good traffic, but he had insane traffic. He had insane traffic. And people stayed in there. You know who stayed in my room? My friend, who came to say hi. Hey, what's going on, Ern? Hey, Lloyd, can you get that chair from outside? Yeah, once that guy's out, I'll steal it. Let's say, once he got the chair, all right, now we can chill. And that's what we did. Again, I had good traffic, but he held court. And that made me really think, I have to really tell people about this, because I just called him out of a whim, and the rest is him, you know? So this is a realistic job. This is almost to what we were talking about yesterday. The copyist thing is a little bit different, because you have to provide something. They're not expecting you to do demonstrations for them. They're just expecting you to work and give them something, okay? But here's a guy, you know, again, Ty's a little older, okay? But he was able to, number one, demonstrate the product. Number two, answer questions. Number three, be relevant to what people are doing. And he brought his own music, which is hip hop style stuff, and he was selling the product to the point where now he's their product specialist for that product. So when the holidays come, they're going to send him to Guitar Center. They're going to send him to Sam Mash. They're going to send him out of state to make money and do this. This is a real job. It's a real money job, very serious thing. Questions. You should ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. Who thinks they could be a product specialist? Honest question. Raise your hand. You know, I need confident hand raises, straight up in the air. Okay. What product could you demonstrate?
I would say, I don't have a full understanding of it, but I'll say Logic Pro X.
Okay.
Be the closest.
Okay.
One I'd be the most comfortable with.
What you got, Mr. Peters?
Is that a Pro Tools or Big Tweak?
A Bitwig? Okay. So you got to learn how to say it right, because they won't hire you. Who else rose their hand? Who else rose their hand? It was Dominique, right? What do you think you could do? Huh? No, I saw you. I'm sitting right here. Saw you. So it's just something to think about. When I started doing Sibelius, I met the guy who was the product demonstrator. This is really about timing. When I met him, I said, oh yeah, you know, because I was doing some doctoral work at Hunter, and I met him and I said, yeah, you know, we all use it in class. We exchanged emails, and he says, well, if you're good, look, I'm getting overwhelmed, and I can't do all these schools in Jersey. I'll just send you to one and see what happens. When you go to a school, they have to fill out an evaluation sheet and send it back to the company. And that's why I kept doing all these demonstrations, because I was good at what I did, for whatever reason. Maybe it's because of my music, you know, not my music production, but just like my music knowledge and theory, because I'm talking music. Remember, teachers are not interested in Pro Tools yet, not at this time. They're interested in Pro Tools now. I did a demonstration at a school in Greenwich, in Connecticut. This was many, many years ago. This school had money. All their desktops had Logic on it. This is a high school. All their desktops had Logic on it. And I was teaching the teachers how to use Sibelius. But the students are learning Logic in high school. Okay. But that's what's coming out of high school. That's what's coming out of elementary high school. There's a school in Freeport. So I went there to do Sibelius with the smartboard, to teach a few teachers. And it was really nice, because one of the teachers there actually went to my alma mater, and so we were actually able to talk about that. This school had 36 seats of Pro Tools and Sibelius. In the back of the room, they had a small recording studio. That was Pro Tools HD that they had built. In the back room. So I'm saying, like where my friend is here doing cameras. So over there was a full recording school in a high school in front of the lab. This was like 2006. That was crazy to me. So then they asked me to come back, and this is when this is when I said, this is not my area, but I can't believe I know what to do. They asked me to come back and say, look, we have all this stuff here with the headphones. A lot of our students need to take AP exams in languages. Is there a way that we could use this stuff to have them record them taking the test because they have to speak and do the exam? I was like, oh yeah, you just do it this way. Take this, take the microphone and do it like that. Thank you. How much do we owe you? $300. Thank you. Because now they're taking the music lab and using it for languages in a way that they've never done before. That's much easier to do than going to cassette, which is what they were still doing. Because now they can take the audio that they would, and I put the audio in GarageBand for them. So yeah, just do this. And now they can take that audio and then do the whole thing via email. Yes, sir?
You mean they paid you for consultation, so it was just that?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's a great life. Believe it or not. And again, you will see people, you could just type in anything, product specialist X, Y, and Z software. You got to know your computers, your Mac, your PC, whatever. They're going to ask you all these tech questions that a lot of people do for free. That's what they do. They kind of sneak up on you. Yeah, I've got this real problem with this. Or, can I just show it to you? And like all of a sudden, you kind of like they sneak up on you and do it. It's kind of corny, It's kind of lame. Like they'll bring their interface, like they'll bring their whole thing. Yeah, can I just, just plug it in and show you, So they kind of trap you there a little bit. It's kind of corny, but whatever. You can either do it or not. So you can say, look, I really can't do that because I got a lot of demonstrations I got to show. And I'm telling you, don't ever think because you're the person in front of the room that you know the most. All you got to do is know what you know and present what you know. There's going to be that one person who just knows just a slight bit more than you and cannot wait to show you how much they know more than you. There's always going to be that person. That's why you got to know your stuff. With music, with doing Sibelius, I'm dealing with composers. And I'm dealing with composers who are composers. Okay? And I always have like these things I like to say, like I'm dealing with composers who live above 72nd Street on the West Side. They have very special needs, apparently, than the composer who lives downtown on the Lower East Side. Everybody wants their program to do the one thing that they need. Well, if it can't do it, I'm just going to go back to pencil and paper. And the evil Jackson in your head says, go ahead, I don't care. That's what I always say. It's like, go ahead. But because they're always trying, what I'm saying is sometimes they're just trying to stick you. They're just trying to trap you. When I was in California and I was demonstrating for Abbott, I was demonstrating Sibelius, there was this whole big rumor about, I heard Sibelius is dying and Abbott's not going to support it anymore. That's what everybody had to come up to me and ask. So I said, no, sir, that's why we have this $10,000 booth here showing you Sibelius, because we're just going to kill it. That's the smart ass in me saying that to them. The answer I gave them was, no, Sibelius is fine. That's why we're here at the show. So do you have any questions? And as they walk away, I'm like, talking about, So that's me doing that. Other questions about being a product specialist. This is a real career in music. But that's the software side. What about if you play an instrument? Are you a product specialist for a musical instrument? Can you be? What do you think? What do you think?
It's how like certain artists they endorse companies, and that's how those companies make sales on like guitars and drums.
By what?
By playing those specific instruments, I guess.
Boo. Significant boo. Can I get that on? You got me? Can you get a close-up of me going boo? I'll give you an eyebrow. Boo. That's how they make money. Well, so this is the software side. And again, everybody here is music production because I really was hoping that some fine arts people would come in here as well. But what if you play an instrument? So if you go to a convention that I go to, the NAMM show, which I go to every January because that's my only vacation. I go to sunny California in January and it's always cold. I hate that. So you go to the NAMM show, so NAMM.org. right? It's always loud. It's always loud. It's just loud. There's 5 halls of people playing instruments, loud, okay? So if you're a product specialist, we're not talking software, you're not interested, but we're talking musical instruments, okay? So who wants to be my musical instruments interesting person on guitar? Mr. Peters. I'm done with you. So I'm at a booth. I got to get my guitar set for you first. So I'm standing at a booth with my guitar. I'm just looking at you because you're in my way. You haven't done anything bad. So here I am. People will know this private joke. I can only bring this guitar up here in this room at this particular time because I know I will not be assaulted and beat up. Okay? I wish you could see Eddie's face right now. I wish you could see it. Okay. So I'm at my booth. Okay, Mr. Peters, you can approach. Mr. Peters is just walking the show floor. He's just walking, he's with his friend, he's walking, and here I am standing with my guitar. And Mr. Peters is like, what is that?
What is that?
It's a guitar, man. It's a real cool guitar. You want to check it out?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about it first, okay? So this guitar is made out of complete ceramic, okay? None of this is wood, and it's actually baked, and we actually apply the finish on there later. But all of this is like a ceramic guitar. The top part is a phenolic fingerboard, so it'll never warp, and it's all like that. This tremolo is a knife point fulcrum, so it's a smooth transition tremolo, and I'm using DiMarzio pickups. I've got this special distortion pickup and this Petrucci model in here. So what do you think?
Looks great.
All right, go away. I just sent him away. This is how I got my start being a product specialist. Because I was demonstrating a guitar for a friend. He flew me out to California, and I stood in his booth, and I did guitar demonstrations for this guitar. Not this guitar, but another one, all right? And all day long, I just stood there and I played guitar, and I demonstrated for people. I handed the guitar to people so they could play and check it out. And then next thing I know, the guy sold like 7 of them. These guitars at the time that he had were $3,000 to $4,000. But because I played and demonstrated that they sounded really good, he was like, thank you, you can have it. Well, I can have one? Oh yeah, and the equipment that you got, you made a whole bunch of money for me. Just doing what I normally do, just play guitar, but I knew how to sell the guitar. Because you gotta talk about features. Guitar players are the worst. We know this, right? They're the worst. All they wanna know is, what does it do, what is this, that, and like, you know. So like on this one, I've got this thing. This is the volume control. So the first thing a guitar player is going to be like, oh, what's that? Where's the volume? And here's the volume. Well, that's stupid. That's what guitar players, that's how they talk, okay? You know what I mean, right? So this is like, you know, nobody likes anything. But you got to kind of just show them the features of the guitar, the features of the product, and why it's special, okay? You say, thank you for coming. I just sent you away, but it's like, you know, thank you for coming and whatever. And most of the time, you're demonstrating the guitar, but they have a whole bunch of other models up on the wall that they can come and check out. Same thing applies. You got to be able to answer questions. Well, why is it this? Well, why is it? Why do you use these pickups? Why don't you use other pickups? Because that's how people are, all detailed for no reason, okay? Well, why is that tremolo like that? No, I like to use this other tremolo. Okay, well, you know, we use this, okay? Well, why ceramic? How come it's not made out of wood? You know, wood's better. Well, you know, we're just trying a different, you know, thing so we could save trees, you know, all like this stuff. Whatever. It's easy. This guitar is literally baked in an oven. It's a riot. It comes out like gray putty, and then, like I said, we just apply these veneers. And it's a cool guitar, you know, it's a lot of fun. Eddie's drooling, so I'm gonna hand it to him. I wish you could see him. I wish you could have a camera on this. Look at it, look how happy he is. Anyway. Ignacio, I'm going to use you next, okay? Here's another guitar. And I know you've seen this before, but I'm just going to do the demo, okay? So here comes Ignacio walking on the show floor. All right? He comes up to me. Looks like, so you gotta do, you're just like, okay, I've seen 1,000 of these, what's the big deal kind of attitude, okay? Sorry, here I am, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, they're like, I'm standing in my booth just waiting for somebody to talk to me. This is what it's like. Just kind of hang out all day with your guitar. Hey there, how you doing?
What's this all about?
Well, this is my Mercurial guitar. So what's great about this guitar is that you can take the pickups out and remove them and put them in any position. You've seen this, right?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh. See, so I've just moved these pickups and then you can just change them and switch them into the position that you want, okay? So that's what's cool about this guitar.
It's hard to like not be like amazed.
You're acting, you gotta be acting. Okay. So no, you gotta say, oh, that's it? That's all it is, right? That's how you, no, all right, go away. You don't play fun. So that's what's special about this guitar, okay? For a guitar player, that's crazy, that you can switch the positions of the pickups by literally just popping them out and putting them in a different position or switching them out for a different pickup. It's a thing that it does. And then what you would do is you would get all these different modules with different sounds and just switch them in and out for whatever you need them to be. Okay, so that's what this guitar does. And you gotta be able to explain it. Now, not only do you gotta be able to explain it to a guitar player, because the first thing they're gonna be like is, well, why? Why would you wanna do that? Right, because it's like, all right, well, I have a guitar, I don't need, And it's because you can get a whole bunch of different sounds. And then, this is kind of corny, but when I turn it on the back, you see this crazy thing that only you need a 17-year-old to really just kind of hang out for like a month and just figure out and do stuff for you. Because what this does is it makes the guitar sound very different based on where you move this. So whatever pickup you put in that position, you'll see there's three columns. That's the three different positions of this. And then, the pickups and what they do. So when you pull this up, this gets activated, and then you just make all your custom sounds. For a serious studio playing guitar player, that means you can get every type of guitar sound possible with this one guitar. Every type, okay? But you still got to be able to sell it. When this guitar, now I'm going to be honest, this company does not exist anymore. This was like the last guitar, okay? When this company existed, this guitar was like $3,500. $3,500. But that basically took care of every guitar in your collection, pretty much. And then each pickup module, which is what these are, the modules themselves were like $100, and then you could just put any pickup on there that you wanted to have your sound. So what you would do, you'd have your booth set up, a couple of guitars like this, and all these different pickups, and then what you would do is you would demonstrate by popping pickups in and out and showing all the different sounds that you could get. It was a crazy time, okay? But the company was like, they didn't get how to market this, so they kind of went out of business. I got the last one, it's awesome, okay? But I still need like a young kid to really figure out how to do all these things in the bottom there, because I don't have this kind of time. But you can see how just being the musician, there's a job for you. Same thing, like I do guitars, there's always opportunities for people to demonstrate different types of pianos that are out there, different types of keyboards. Believe it or not, all the wind instruments, they need somebody to demonstrate the wind instruments. So what you do as a consumer, you show up at the show with your mouthpiece, and you go to the different horn booths, and then you play all these different things. And there's somebody there who says, okay, the reason our trumpets are better is because we do this. So now you're demonstrating, now you're being a musician as opposed to somebody in music production, okay? These are real jobs. These are real things that you could be doing with your skill sets. So if you happen to be a musician and somebody well-versed in music production, you have the beginnings of a really good career making money. You have to know your instrument, you have to know your software, and you have to just really know who your target audience is. I was going to have a guest come in, somebody I just really met on Sunday. He just couldn't do the session today. But he was literally like a younger version of me, but the same age as you guys. He's from Michigan, he went to school in Canada, a music production school that had a really good sound design program. And now he's been working in this recording studio for 2 years. And the guy knows his stuff. to the point where the session that I was doing at this studio on Sunday, when you go to the studio, you have to bring your own engineer. They don't engineer for you. So the group that wanted me to engineer for them, I just set up, I knew exactly what the console was, I knew the program I was using, I knew the Pro Tools HD, and all he did was provide the microphones and setup. So that's what you guys want to do. That's what you guys are here for. You guys want to be in the studio, working, doing sessions, being assistant engineers and engineers. When I saw how this kid worked, you know, obviously it reminded me of my program. And I was thinking, like, I said, I wonder who could be in this seat from my program right now? Who would know the microphones up and down, know the console that quick, and be able to run this session with me, even though I ran the session myself, but who would be able to assist me in that studio? Okay? And I mean, there were a few names and stuff, obviously, but there weren't that many because you're not there yet. But if you don't see where you're supposed to get, you're not going to know exactly what you're supposed to know. Because a lot of people want to work in the studio, but they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. You're not going to get on the console immediately. I'm sure Cash can tell you that. You're not going to get on the console immediately. You're going to be running around like these three guys who were helping me with the microphones and setting up the bass amps, so then you got to know how to do things. Luckily, I knew the band, so they weren't that difficult. Towards the end of the day, there were a little bit too many chefs in the soup. That, you know, oh, why don't we just add a harmony here? No. Go sit down, okay? Because I could talk to them that way. So there's the engineer part. How many people could, I know one in this room can. How many people can definitely at this point know that they can go into a recording studio and be an assistant engineer right now? Why? Mr. Ignacio, why do you know that you can just do that? Right now. I'm going to send you to the studio tomorrow. You're going to be assistant engineer.
As in like setting up mics and positioning.
Everything.
Because I know how to do that, and I learned that this semester, so it's fresh in my mind.
Okay, that's a good answer. Because he asked me, okay, what kind of mics? And he had the mic list just like we have downstairs, right? Had the mic list. And I asked him, I said, well, I just want overheads. What do you have for overheads? Well, we tend to use these. Okay, and I'm being honest. Well, what are those? I've never heard of them. Oh, let me show them to you. These are the greatest overhead mics ever. Can I just tell you? They weighed like 15 pounds and they were expensive. And I was like, yeah, let's use those. I like that. I trusted him is my point. I didn't act like I knew what every microphone in the world did. I trusted this guy because he works there, been there 2 years. I'm sure Anderson would have picked different mics. But I told him about these mics. He's like, oh, okay, those sound good. I was like, this sounded great, man. Okay? But here's the guy doing exactly what you guys are here to do. And it was effortless. And they were young. I'm going to say that again. They were young people, all right? They were not like, 35, 40. They were like 21 to 25 years old doing exactly what you guys are doing, okay? It's very, very important that you understand that. And then the final thing I want to talk about, which to me has also been very important in my career as a musician, educator, is being an author of books, okay? Being an author of books and what you're writing about in these books. So I'm just going to show you a few things. So the first thing I want to show you, let's see. So these are the books with my name on it that I wrote. These are those books. Ernie Jackson was this one. Ernie Jackson, same book, but in Turkish. How awesome is that? Okay? When you get your book written and translated in Turkish, you call me. Ernie Jackson in Spanish, the very language I really cannot speak. Translated into Spanish. Ernie Jackson, guitar color composer. This is Ernie Jackson with a former student. We put this book together. This is a compilation book that we did together. And this is my first book that I ever wrote, okay, which is about a black classical guitar player from the 1800s. Huh? That's not me. Is that how old you think I look? You see any dreads there?
That was many, many years ago.
Wasn't the 1800s though, okay? All right. Funny. But the main thing is that I wrote these books, and then what else? All this I did. The music notation, the diagrams, everything in this book. All this stuff. All these chords, all the tablature, everything. This book is a very unique book because I did all the chords, and the way this book works is that if you're a beginner, you just flip that part of the page and you build the chords based on your skill level. Okay? So they have this book in a lot of different ways. They have this in exercises. They have this in like a lot of formats. It's just called the mix and match book. So if you can't do a C chord like the hard way yet, so you do it in the beginner way, and when you start building your chord progressions, you do it based on your skill level, what you can do. So that's why the pages are split into 5. And it says there, it'll say beginner, advanced, intermediate, and stuff like that. So I did all of this. And then I wrote the text about every chord on there. Okay? This is a while. This took me a long time. Okay? Every chord in here, I had to write about every chord. Somewhat annoying, I will say. How many times can you write about a C chord? I don't know. Depends on the position it's in. This is a serious book. Okay?
Title of that book?
It's called The Guitar Chord Composer by me, the high exalted one. Okay. So these are the books that I wrote. Okay. Then, these are the books. I'll start off with these. These are the books that I did the music notation in, which is what you were talking about yesterday. So I got hired from the people who put out the Everything Christmas book. Okay? Everything you needed to know about Christmas is in this book, seriously, in every culture around the world. But in the back, I know it's kind of scary. You like that? They got recipes, right? How to set up your tree right. I mean, it's like everything Christmas. Is it in the back? No, it's over here somewhere. Christmas songs. Guess who did this music notation? How simple is that? Look at that. Christmas songs. Okay? They needed somebody to do the music notation for the Christmas songs. It's a $2,000 job. Just that. Just that. Okay? It came upon a midnight clear. All this is Ernie Jackson doing this. $2,000 for that. And it continues. The Everything Piano book. Who's doing that? Ernie Jackson. Because my name is featured in the music engraving. It's in the front. The big deal, Sounding Out Pop. This was my music advisor at Hunter for a graduate program that I was taking. This was, in fact, the hardest music notation project I've ever had to do. Because this is almost not even music anymore. This is things. They talk about things. They talk about voice leading vectors. So this is me doing all this crazy stuff for my professor because this is considered a scholarly book. This is for scholars. In other words, they're taking pop songs and basically talking about how brilliant they really are in music theory kind of things. They're just basically ruining the song for you, okay? So what was once a very simple, fun to listen to Marvin Gaye song has been completely destroyed by music theory and voice leading vectors. And it was hard. You really can't see it, but I have a page here that's marked off, and I'll just pass that around. So you can look at this page where there are no music bar lines, but all this ridiculous detail. I forgot what song is. What song is that? Yeah, How to Disappear Completely. I think that's Radiohead, maybe? Okay? So this Radiohead song now is this very complex song that's being analyzed by a music theorist. This is a real job. This one, I will tell you the truth, I didn't get paid anything for this because I was doing it for my professor, okay? And this is the book that helped me get my tenure here because it was a scholarly work that my name is attached to. So it depends on what your focus is, okay? But because I was a Sibelius expert and I gave Sibelius classes at Hunter for free, okay? I was doing my CUNY goodness, if you will, service to the community, as it were. In doing so, he asked me, would you do this? So now I'm a part of this book, this scholarly book that music scholars are reading around the country and the world, okay? Basically having been subsidized by all these other books that I've written. So who thinks they could write a book on something? Why do you say no? This is good. If we can get this on camera, right? We get this on film. People are going like this.
Book, was that a book on something or a book?
Book on something in music that you're good at knowing about. Who says no? Who says a straight up, hands up in the air, absolutely not, I cannot write a book?
Not at this point.
Hands straight up in the air. I want to see it. I want to see you say, Jackson, count me out on the book writing extravaganza. Okay, I hope you change your mind in 20 years. I hope you do. That first book that I wrote, my Justin Holland book, trust me when I tell you, and I tell this all the time, writing a book was the very last thing I ever thought I'd do because the only time I ever went to a library is because there was a cute woman there that I liked in college. That first book had me doing research. I wrote a proposal to do the book. And that book has been very, very good for me. And to the point where when I was teaching at a guitar camp in the 90s, I was teaching at a guitar camp, a student 20 years later remembered that Justin Holland book. And for those of you who know, the Metropolitan Museum of Art called me to do music from that period on a guitar that was made during that period. All because one student remembered, who was probably 12, that, like 20 something years ago, that I did this, and he was in charge of this project and got in touch with me and said, hey, can you play this song on this guitar for the Met? It's the last thing I'd ever thought I'd be doing, because I haven't played classical guitar in like so long, but I was able to do this piece within 2 weeks' time of practicing, and I only played the guitar twice. I can't take it home, it's at the Met, it's in the museum, I can't take it home. So I was only able to go there twice, play the guitar, which is like 1/8 of my size, okay? Learn how to play it, play the piece on it, remember how to play the piece, and now my videos featured all over the place doing this. I made QCC proud, I made my other school proud, and I won an award for doing it. All because I wrote this book all these years ago and one kid remembered me. That's all it takes. So when you say you can't be an author, what you're saying is, I don't know enough about something to write about it.
Exactly.
All right? But you'll realize as time goes on, you will have had enough knowledge to talk about something you know and be an expert on it. There should be a point in your life when you're an expert on something, you should be able to write about it. Not something stupid, like opening a can. Although, today, you could blog about your can opening skills. You could do reviews on certain can openers and be like, You guys understand, don't count yourself out about being an author. So what you don't like in your English class, get over that. What do you think you know about that you could write about and write a book? So we've talked about a couple of careers here that you may not even think that would exist, but that are very good for you. Other than the recording studio assistant thing, which is what you're here for anyway, there are people who write books on recording. There are people who write books on mixing. There are people who write books on the history of recording and mixing, and there are people who write books on techniques of recording. They're written all the time. Why are they written all the time? What do you think? Why do you think so?
Technology? I'm sorry.
No, what did you say?
The technology we use is
Always changes, and what else? What do you think? People need to know the knowledge, and yes,
Makes money.
it makes money. How many Pro Tools books do you think there are? So many. How many Pro Tools videos do you think there are that people charge money for you to watch? So many. Those people who make those videos of products, those are product specialists. They are showing you how to do this. And what people do also, the clever thing, is they'll do a review. They have a web channel, they'll do a review. Oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm talking about the new Inbox 3. And so the company notices that. And next thing you know, you're working for the company because you really know what you're talking about. So now you've just covered a couple of things. You've been an author, you've been a product specialist, somebody in the studio who knows what they're talking about. These are really, really serious careers that exist out there. Okay? If you work with a good company, sometimes companies disappear. It happens all the time. So we talk, like you asked that question earlier about jumping from one company, it just means that the company just disappeared. That happens. Okay? Questions? Who didn't learn one thing today? I dare you. Who didn't learn one thing today? Questions, questions, questions. You got to ask questions. Yes, you cannot have that, Eddie. No.
The time period of like writing each book or like notating, how long?
You can't do it forever. You can't write a book for 5 years on guitar. They don't have patience for that. They give you like 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
So that's, you really have to put in that work.
Because they paid you. What are you going to do? All right, I got my check. Is that what you're going to do? You're just going to chill? Tamir, you going to chill? You got a book deal? You got to write the book. Ghostface Killer got in trouble for that. They paid him like $10,000 up front and he didn't do nothing for like months. And they said, we want our money back. They wanted him to tell his story. He got his money, chilled. Hey, do you have any pages for us? Hello? You want their money back. You got to write your book. You have to write it. You know, when you get the life when the checks show up in the mail and you haven't done anything, that's an awesome life. That's great. But when people are expecting you to come through with something, write the book. It's very easy to not write the book, especially when the check has already been deposited. You got a little bit of money and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go on vacation. That's not the time. You got to write, and you got to constantly send chapters in so they can edit and do stuff. And then when you write the book, then you got to do the musical examples. Okay, that's tough. And you got to do them, and you don't submit them in Sibelius. You got to submit them in PDFs or in Illustrator. Like you got to export them to a certain file format so that the publishing company can put it in the book. You got to learn how to do that. Okay. It's not the worst thing. The one student that I wrote that book with, he's the one who got me the second book deal that I did, because he had already written 6 books for that company. He was too busy to write the guitar book that I wound up writing. So he handed it off to me because he had already done 6 books for them. I was like, I don't know if I should say thank you or like, are you crazy? 6 books already. It was hilarious. And he gave me that book. And then he went to do some other books for some other companies. So before he was 26 years old, he had 10 books done already by 3 different publishers. 10 books. 10. He was a former guitar student of mine, a classical guitar student. 10 books. He gave me 1 because I wasn't doing anything. He couldn't do the book. I got a runoff book deal. I got a sloppy second book deal. But it was more book deal than I was going to have before. And I had a really good editor, very patient editor. And then when that second book came out, that's when the other company called me for the mix and match book. Okay? So then it just happened. But then this job was working for me and I was doing some stuff I really couldn't do but so much, okay? So I really want you to rethink about everything that you've heard today and consider what is it that you know very well musically in this program and outside of this, and what can you do to make money in your career if you're not going to be outside of being an artist and a producer and a teacher, these other things. Because remember, when you're doing a product specialist, you are teaching, you are demonstrating, you are speaking, and most of all, you are representing the company who's paying you, okay? And trust me, every time you go to a convention and the clients see you, they're always happy to see you, because that means that the company's doing well, that you're actually paid, that they've paid to be on the convention floor, that they've hired you and you're still working. And so that looks good for the company, okay? Questions? I can't believe you have no questions. Boo. Give me a boo again. Boo. Close up. Boo. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you learned something.